First, I want to show you how simple it is to configure a WebLogic Server Data Source to do application continuity. I'll name my data source OTrade Replay. And then it is as simple as selecting the correct database driver from this drop-down. So I choose the one that has application continuity. It supports global transactions and one phase. I will enter my individual listener information, my service name, configure my host and port, my database user, password. I now will test my two listeners. Test is successful. I will not enter the ONS information since in database 12c, ONS is auto-configurable. I will deploy my data source to my admin server. Now let me run the demo for you. This is a WebLogic Server application. Here I have entered my data source that does not have application continuity enabled. Let me query the customer history table. As you can see, it has 14 records. I will query my table and retrieve the first two records from my results set. I will kill the database session, creating a failure, and attempt to retrieve the next two records from my results set. As you can see here, an exception was thrown to the application due to this error, which did not allow me to retrieve the next two records from my results set. Now I will begin my local transaction and insert a record into the history table and yet another record. I kill my database session, producing a failure, and attempt to do an insert again. As you can see, the application got an exception. When I query my history table, the two rows that I had inserted are not here because the local transaction was rolled back due to the exception. This is the same WebLogic Server application, but now I will use the data source that does have application continuity enabled. Let's query the history table. I have 14 rows. Now I will do my query and retrieve the first two records from my results set. Kill the database session to produce a failure and attempt to retrieve the next two records from my results set. As you can see here, because of application continuity, the application did not receive any exceptions and the query was replayed, which allowed me to retrieve the next two records from my result set. I close my result set. Let me query the table again. See that I have only 14 records in this table. Now I will do my inserts. I begin my local transaction, add a record, add a second record. Now I will kill my database session to produce a failure. I will attempt to insert again into the table, and I will insert another record, and I will commit my local transaction. Because application continuity is enabled, This application did not receive any exceptions when I killed the database session, and all the inserts were replayed, and the commit succeeded. If we query my history table now, you will see that the 4 inserts were applied to the table and that the insert operations replayed successfully.